Hi again. I haven't talked to you guys in such a long time that I feel like I have simultaneously a lot to say and nothing at all to say. So I'm not really sure where to get started. I haven't spoke to you guys through the course of last week. Today is Monday the 14th. And the reason was it was a bit of a chaotic week for me. I had to go out a lot to do a lot of errands and things like that. So it wasn't really possible. Next week will also be a bit chaotic because I will have a lot of noise. There will be construction and a lot of noise towards the end of the week. So yeah, I'm not really sure when this will be uploaded, hopefully this week. So this has kind of got me out of balance in a way. But I don't know, I just want to share what I have been up to and some news and updates, basically. And I'm just going to get started right away. I have been a bit in certain journaling planner base, and what I mean by this is that I'm very much settled into the things that I have been using and working on, but I just don't feel so connected to them. I don't have any plans to do any dramatic change, especially because I'm at a point where I really just want to try and not do things impulsively. So I'm just trying to take it easy. I don't know if you remember, I should have picked this up before we began to talk. But I had this notebook that I told you guys that the blank pages before were really annoying me. And so I decided to do the DIY that I talked to you guys about. And basically I did this. Now, this is something that is extremely easy to do, but there were two mistakes that I did that really just made things a lot harder. And I just wanted to give you this as a tip, for example, because I feel like this is something that's really not only fun, but good to do, not only for you, but for people in your life. You know, if you have friends or if you do pen pal, this could also be a small gift and also a good way to use the notebooks that you have laying around, but you know, perhaps at the end of them there are a couple of pages missing and things like that. And this is also a good way to try different types of journaling that you're not sure if you're going to like or not. Instead of just buying a new notebook specifically for that, for something that you're not sure whether you're going to like or not, you could make your own, and it's extremely easy. Basically, you just have to, there's lots of tutorials on the internet, but you just have to have a needle and thread. There are other optional tools that really help with the process. I have done both without those tools and with those tools. It's much easier with the tools, but it's very much possible to do without them. So that's just, you don't have to buy anything specific for this. You can just grab a bunch of papers that you have around, thread and needle, and that's all you need. I recommend a paper for the cover that is a bit thicker than the one that you have inside, but don't make the same mistake as me, because what I did was, instead of using just one specific paper, I also decided that I would use paper scraps that I had laying around, and what I didn't consider was how thick the cover was going to become and how much harder it's going to be to then put the thread on without any of the tools that I was talking about. So basically, since I just had a normal thread, really thin, and this is like 5 different papers just here, and then they're banded, which also adds more, and all of this just made it harder. So I recommend you only use one paper for the front and back, you know, and just cut it and folded as one, and for the inside it's better to use paper that isn't dated in any way, like this one. I reused this from the back of a literature notebook that I had. It's better to use this one because I had this paper that I took out and everything is fine and wonderful until I realized that the paper that I pull out in booklets, and it was dated in booklets. And since for stitching the notebook and the pages, they are always like this, lying flat, and then you put the needle onto the little holes, so it really just, it did not work out. I tried through like 5 different ways, and that's why the binding and the stitching really just looks extremely rough, because I had to do this like 5 different times to try and figure it out. At first I was convinced that I will manage the way to do this and put it in order, and I'll show you what I mean in a second, but I didn't. But yeah, if you have blank paper, this will be extremely easy. You don't have to know how to sew even. It's extremely easy, and a good way, for example, like I said, to try something out. For what I could also tell you about this is that not only is a good thing for yourself and to give for others and to reuse paper scraps that you have lying around, but for example, let's say that you were wondering if you like scrapbooking or not. Instead of just wasting a notebook that you already have that is in the beginning, or just buying one specifically for that, you could just make this out of some papers that already have different textures and patterns, and then just try it out and see if that's something that you enjoy or not. Also for commonplacing, it's a good way to start, and I started doing more things like this and more DIYs because someone that I know that also journals, mostly through Sketchbook and art-based journaling, she told me that she made her own notebooks because every time that she bought a pretty notebook, she was always scared of using it. And this is definitely not the same for everyone, but I just found out that when you make your own things and they look rough and unmade, unfinished, not only gives such a personal touch because you know that this is a construction of yours, that you intimately just made this journal that is something so personal to you, but also at the same time it takes a lot of the pressure off because it's not something that you bought. It doesn't have a pretty illustration in the front that was designed by someone, or the paper seems so precious. That's always something that I felt about the Hobonichi products. So this is also a good way to start journaling, I think, and to take the pressure off. So that's one of my tips of the week. Basically, these are just a bunch of scraps of paper and little stickers that I had laying around. What I meant by this, even the cover is just scraps, basically. I have here blank pages. They were supposed to be at the end, but like I said, I couldn't do that. And then here you have the 1st of August and then the 1st of July. You can see here that first you have the first date is the 25th of July, and then you go to the 4th of July, 5th of July, and then it goes in order until, until the 23rd, and then you have in the beginning. I only put July in here. There's something attractive to me in just having 1 month at a single notebook. I also did not want to put pressure onto myself to just, this was supposed to be an experiment and not something that I want to pressure myself onto doing. And it was really fun to do, and it still is. I have been using it consistently, so yeah, I hope that next month I can learn from my mistakes and the result turn out a bit better. But yes, I also, something that I want to do and need to do this week is to answer to all my pen pals, so hopefully you'll see that. I intend to prepare the letters tomorrow because I'll be going out on Wednesday. So yes, and I'm thinking of making small notebooks for them as well. I think that will be fun. They are also easy to do, like I said, so I don't know, I just feel like it adds a small personal touch. This has been my planner. Updates on the pocket moleskin. I don't have a lot. There's still something very comforting about this notebook because every time that I'm going out, I always have the urge to take this with me. Not only because it fits everywhere, but also because I use it to just jot down things and unkept notes. I don't know. And it's almost at the end, but I will just keep on carrying it until it's over, and then perhaps I'm thinking of maybe buying another one just for messy notes on the go, because it really just takes my mind off things. And these ideas that I have in the moment, it's good to have a place to write them down right when I have the ideas, instead of just waiting or doing it on my phone, because then I hardly check it out. But if I do it here, I will check it out. So yeah. What other updates? Sorry. So starting from the things that you already know, this one has also been going pretty well, I will say. What else? I went out one day of last week and I actually bought two things that I'll show you. One of them was this notebook and the other was this small ring binder. Now, why did I bought this? This one I bought because I intended to use it as kind of adulting journal. There are a lot of things that I don't know about, and I feel like I need to start leaning more into things like that. You know, the things that people don't teach you at school but are fundamental parts of being an adult, like paying taxes and learn more in depth about politics and things like that, so I can make informed decisions. And also, it really just scares me a lot, the idea of not knowing how to do something that can lead you to jail or something like that. I don't know, it's something that really scares me. So I just it sounds silly, but I just want to start writing more and learning about these adulting things. But also just I have a couple of plans for what I want in the future. I will not be discussing those because I always believe that if you share too much of something, then it won't happen. And I definitely have seen this happen. So but I have some plans for the future and things that I need to plan out, or else they won't happen at all. You know, I always feel like I'm waiting for an opportunity that won't come unless I put myself out there. And what I want to do in the future is something that I actively want and need to work towards, or else it won't happen. And yeah, so I just need to start doing that, and that's why I bought this notebook. I never saw a moleskin in this color before, and that's why I was so attracted to it. I haven't written anything in it. I was waiting to show you guys. But also because I have been debating on whether I will use this notebook for that or for something else. I know that I will need a notebook for that eventually, but I'm not sure if it's going to be this one or if I'm going to use this as something else. So yes. And then this one was on sale. That's my justification. I feel like this is a product that I will inevitably use further down the road. And so since it was really cheap for this kind of product, it was €9. And you don't usually see ring binders that cost this this much. This isn't a file effects or anything like that, but still ring binders are usually expensive unless they are the plastic material. So I just picked it out because I knew eventually I'll probably want something like this, and now I already have it without spending so much on it. The color, I wish it was darker, and I wish it didn't have this here, but I'm thinking of perhaps doing a DIY once I decide to use this. This is something that I also have been thinking about as a carrying thing that will be a mix between those two, like a planner and also notes pages, because I can just hole punch these pages, you know. So that's something that I have been thinking about. If I do decide to do that for August, then I will probably do a DIY. I prefer darker shades of reds, so I might do that. I'll find a way to do that. So these were the purchases that I have done. Now we can talk about reading, and then I'll show you my reading journal. So books that I have finished. I have finished Letters to a Young Poet. I love this book so much. I never put tabs on books before. I don't have any pretty ones. I just have this one and this one. But and these are the kind of books that I just highlight with pencil. I don't really like to put a lot of pressure into these kinds of book and the annotations that I do. I did this after I read it too. So, but this is a book that was really good, and I just feel like everyone should read it. This is weird to say, but it's, when I went into it, I thought it was like, from what I had heard, that this author was epistolary kind of book, and two people were exchanging letters about poetry and art in general, and what it is like to be a poet and an artist. But he goes so much deeper in that. He talks about from religion to life and family and individuality, solitude, all of these things that plague human existence in a way, and things that you always wonder through your life. And I found that he had sometimes contrary views on things, but overall it was just, he felt like he was this wise old man just sharing life wisdom. This is the best way that I can describe it, but it really stuck with me and I really recommend it. I highlighted 90% of this book because it just really resonated with me. So I hope you give it a go. And this kind of book, that if you can find it in your country, they are usually cheap. So they are pretty, they are cheap, and they are very light and friendly. I feel like this is such a friendly size. But yeah, I just really like them. On a similar vein, I have read Circe and Cyclops. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that this is taken from the Odyssey by Homer. I'll talk about why I have picked this up in a second. But basically, it's the story itself, the setting, amazing. That's why it is a classic. The whole adventure, amazing. But the character, I didn't remember how arrogant he was. And that really struck me, because this is supposed to be a hero, you know. And the way that he acts and what he says and speaks, and just going to have a sip. Anyway, books that I am currently in the middle of. I am reading this book, which is, initially I thought it would be like poetry. It's not poetry in the normal sense of the word. It's small texts that describe, they all have a similar theme throughout. Not similar, they have a theme throughout and characters that align each other, but it's hard to explain. It basically just explores this idea through different texts. And I have been trying to analyze each one and just write my thoughts on them, but you'll see that on my reading journal. My goal was to do one of these a day, but I haven't done that consistently. But it's not a book that I have any rush on finishing, so it's fine. Speaking of books that I have no rush in finishing it, is this Bible. You probably have heard about this historian. I had heard about his other books and I had never read them, especially because I'm not going to lie, I mostly, upon learning what they were, I thought they were mostly about the scientific part of humanity, and I'm much more interested in the historical part. And once I read the synopsis of this one and realized this was much more not only upon what is happening right now through technology, but also trying to understand how we reach from here through the webs of connection that always have been around our societies. So his view is incredibly interesting. This is the first book that I actually have a key for annotating. I never done this before, but I just felt like this is something that I want to not just read but also study, and that's why I have been reading it incredibly slowly. Also a book that I am in no rush to finish. I just want to absorb the max of it, and I'll show you about. So basically my key is things highlighted in red are things that I want to research and learn more about, or quotes that really just stand out for me. And then in pencil I have passages that I find interesting, and also my thoughts and notes. And in black I have like those questions that lead you to think about the subject in matter. And then in blue I have key ideas, passages that show what he is trying to say throughout the book. So basically I just have read the prologue. You can see here that I have some annotations, some pages more than others, but I've also have been using a ruler, not only because I find it, since I am taking this slowly instead of a more spontaneous read per se, I like it to be a bit more clean, so that's why I am allowing myself to use the ruler. And as a bookmark I have these postcards. I have yet to read the first chapter of this book, but I will do so soon. And yes, this is something that I also have been immensely enjoying. At the same time, I have almost finished this one, which is All the Lovers in the Night by Mieko Kawagami. If this is not how you say it, once again, you already know. And I have been also immensely enjoying this book. I have been relating to not just the main character, but a lot of key passages, even from different characters, and it is definitely an impactful read. especially if you are more of an introvert. I can definitely feel like you will find some solace upon this book and what it means. I feel like it inevitably finds the balance between what is solitude and loneliness. So I don't know, I just found it really interesting. I'm almost at the end. Hopefully I'll finish it today. But yeah, even the descriptions, this is also focused a lot on the idea of the night and light, and it's just very beautiful, and it's definitely a book that I want to reread again, because I just feel like it's extremely, not only through the writing, it's beautiful, but also the story in itself. So I definitely also recommend this one. But check trigger warnings. So what I have been doing, I'm not sure if I talked about this before or not, but I'm also into a non-fiction book, a fiction book, and then like short stories / poetry / small text to put in between reads. This one I have finished for a reason that I'll explain in a second, but these two are my current main rotation. I'm not sure which one I'll read after this one, but we'll see. Hopefully I can film that. What else have I been up to? Oh yes, like I said, I started researching upon a topic that was plants, and this sounds silly at first, but I'll explain. I was searching about poisonous plants because I always end up looking through the not so positive side of things, so I was searching for those. And upon researching belladonna and foxglove and angel's trumpet and all of those more famous, prominent poisonous plants throughout history, I came across a couple of different sources and stories, from ones more based upon our time today, like the teacup murder, or the garden in, I'm not sure where it is, I forgot the name, but it was made by a duchess, if I'm not mistaken, and the other ones, and how this idea has been so prevalent, how plants have been in the same way healing and poisonous throughout history. I'm not going to lie, I have been a bit disappointed. The amount of information that I could find, I was hoping to find more information about how the plants have regarded to certain myths and certain even real life scenarios, but I wasn't able to find that. I didn't research a lot, but basically upon trying to see more in the ancient texts, I forgot the name, I'll put it here. It starts with a T. One of the first people to write down a treatise about plants, I started to read more upon Greek mythology again, and this was a subject that I was immensely interested in when I was little, because I read the Rick Riordan books. First of all, the Percy Jackson, and then House of Olympus, if I'm not mistaken. It was a really long time ago since I have read those, and so I just, at the time, it was a big hyperfixation for me. So it was funny because even at history classes where we were learning about ancient Greek, I always wanted to raise my arm in class, but I just didn't, because I just knew about the gods and how they lived back then due to the information that I had gathered on my own, but I did not want to seem weird, so I didn't. And in a way that got lost through my constant going back and forth between researching different things. That's something that you'll notice a lot even through this channel. I always am going back and forth upon research different things, and I go really in depth when I am on that mode, and then I can just drop it. Even though I have gathered, I don't know, 10 pages of information, I just drop it like that. And that's something that I still remember a lot about. I still have a lot of the facts, myths, names present in my mind. And so going back to it kind of felt like, I don't want to use the expression felt like coming home, but felt like going back to a time where I did not know what I was doing, but I was doing it for fun. And it just, I started thinking about that again and how big that interest in me was. And that's why I read this one. And I definitely have been more interested and critical about my reading materials and such than I was back then. But also trying to learn more about the myths. For example, upon the research of the plants, I came across the Odyssey because it said in one of the websites that I had seen how Circe used the one of the plants to poison the people and then to turn them into pigs. But then upon reading the original source and just trying to search more on that, I couldn't find that information, the source of that information. And also emperors, like it also said that the emperor Augustus, he also died because of a plant. Couldn't find that information again for sure. And what else? So I have been thinking about that. And to wrap up on this idea, I'll show you some other things regarding this. So this is my very basic sketchbook. I'll show you some things here before I dive into what I made these drawings. I always love to do fine line kind of drawings, and I kind of manifested these ballet flats. I don't have the Sandy Liang ones obviously, but I do have another brand, so they are very similar to this one. And then here we go, what I did yesterday. I was thinking about some of the things that I associate with these Greek myths and Greek mythology in general, from the spears to the scissor and the line to the armor and the coins, and also the statues and the columns and the vases, plants, the arrow, things like that. And then I just did some people drawing. I don't know, I was just drawing and thinking about what I imagined these characters in my head to look like. Not anyone specifically, just this idea of Greek mythology, how if I had to put it on to a person, what would they look like in my head. And this is what I came up with. And also this very loose sketch. I really liked how this vase turned out. Yeah. Oh, and I also would like to do something like this for my room, actually. It's something that I always wanted to, but now I'm more on a DIY kind of phase, so I have been thinking more about things like this. And these were some drawings that I did. I don't usually show you a lot of those, but I just have been thinking about them because for a friend's birthday, we as a group of people agreed to that everyone would design stickers that represent things about that person and what they like. And I actually very easily design some stickers and was like, I always put so much pressure upon doing things like this, but it's extremely easy. And I never do it because I always feel like it needs to be perfect, the best possible outcome, and it just has to be something that I had never seen before. And that's something that I struggle with, that kind of imposter syndrome a little bit, because it always feels like everyone has done everything. And even when I try, people always call me out, saying that this and this person has done that, and sometimes it are things that I don't even realize. And I don't know, I always just feel that a bit deeply, and so I never actually done stickers out of nowhere for me, and I have been thinking about just trying out for fun and seeing where it leads me. So yeah, these are just things that I have been thinking about. I'm not sure how long I have been talking for. What else did I have to say? Oh, for this week, like I said, I will be making my pimple letters, hopefully tomorrow. Today I mean to finish this book, and I don't know what else. Oh, I have made a reading nook. You have seen it. I filmed it a little bit. My cat has also been really loving it, and I don't know, I always wanted the reading kind of chair, but first of all, with the current state of my room, it doesn't fit. Second of all, it's expensive, and at the moment I cannot justify that purchase. And third of all, I don't know, I cannot do that right now. But since it is something that I always wanted to do, have that dedicated space for reading, I actually just grabbed, it's not a mattress, it has a different name. I'm forgetting the name right now, but it's this thing that's soft and squishy, and then I just folded it and put a blanket on it because the colors are horrendous, and put on a pillow, and that was it. My goal is to make my bottom shelf where I directly face when I am sitting on that reading chair more cozy, because currently it just has supplies and things like that, and I want to make it more of a really reading cozy space, like a place to put my books and a place with a lamp because it gets dark easily, and perhaps other booking related things, a book that I can put my cozy drinks easily, things like that. So hopefully that is something that I work towards as well. And I feel like I have been talking for a long time. Hopefully this is recording. If not, I'm going to be really upset. So yeah, hopefully I can talk to you guys perhaps tomorrow once I am doing the kind of letter preparation. I feel like this video will go from not existing to being too long, but hopefully you don't mind too much. And yes, I'll hopefully talk to you soon through the week. But bye for now, I guess.